Morning and welcome back to WorksheetCloud, grade 7s, to your English lesson. I do hope that you've been enjoying these lessons, and I know some of you are back at school, back to online lessons with your teachers if you're in a 4-term school. If you're in a 3-term school, you're probably on holiday. But whatever your situation, I do hope that you're making use of these lessons to learn and to grow. If there are any subjects or topics or skills that I haven't quite touched on yet, please send me an email to grade7@worksheetcloud.com, and I'll be sure to look at them and see when I can fit them into our schedule. So let's jump right into our lesson overview. So today we're looking at our daily starter, which we always do. I will be changing that up a little bit to make it different from tomorrow. And then we're going to recap creating a visual, making a connection, and questioning. Those are the first 3 strategies we've looked at for comprehension. And yesterday we looked at understanding importance. So if you haven't seen those videos, I would definitely stop this video, go look at part 1 and 2, and then come to part 3, which today is about using inference and synthesizing. So before we go to our daily starter, remember we spoke about creating a visual, and that's like creating a movie in your mind using your 5 senses. So what you can see, smell, taste, hear, and touch. We also spoke about making a connection. So whatever you're reading, connect it to yourself in some way. Have you had the same experience? Connect it to maybe something you've read or to the world at large. And then we spoke about questioning. And so that's the 5 W's and H: who, what, where, why, and when. And then the how. And then understanding importance we looked at yesterday, which we're going to I'll just jump ahead over here. And we looked at what's important or essential versus just interesting. And remember we spoke about if you're going to a baseball game, there are certain things that are essential in which what needs to happen at a baseball game. So you do need the bat, the ball, and the mitt. Obviously popcorn, the hat, and the shirt would be interesting to have, but it's not essential for you to play. Right, so let's jump into our daily starter. So I want you to write as many words as you can that start and end with the same letter. And I want you to start with the A and find words that end in an A as well. Those are quite tricky. And then the SANS, the S start with an S and end with an S. Those are a little bit easier. So for example, ones like shoe, you just have to make it plural, shoes, and then you've got them starting with the same letter and ending with the same letter. So pause the video at this stage, jot some ideas down for words with A and ending in A, and S and ending in S, and we'll go through some of the ideas when you come back. Right, so let's take a look at some of the ones I've got. I had aqua, and remember I think we spoke about aqua as part of a prefix to something. And then area, Anna, the name, anemia, aha is an interjection, aorta to do with the heart, Africa, our continent, and arena, where you can watch things. And then these were the easy ones, the S: sands, splashes, sorrows, stress, stories, stares, sways, and swoops. So I hope you managed to find quite a few. Did you struggle with the A's? I certainly did. So let's look at our comprehension strategy for today, and that's using inference. And like I said in our previous lesson, at the end of that lesson, I said I often get statements like this: I don't know, Mrs. Verger. It doesn't tell me in the story. So that's where your inferencing skills come into play. So if you look at the 2 pictures, I want you to just take a look at them and think, what could you deduct from just looking at the picture? So we'll go through a definition just now of what inferencing is, but it's really just reading between the lines. So no one's told you, but what can you use from your own experience plus what you see to come up with what's happening in the picture or the paragraph? So pause the video and then we'll discuss it when you come back. And so we've got in this picture on the left, you've got a whole lot of people sitting together. So there's a group and there's a group, but this boy seems to be all on his own. So perhaps you could infer that he's isolated, or he's chosen to sit by himself. Perhaps he doesn't have any friends. Perhaps he's being ignored by other children. So we're looking at the picture and just deducting certain things from what we see. If we look at this little picture, I've actually got a Yorkie myself. They are such adorable dogs. But in this picture, it looks like the dog is happy. It's quite a cute dog. It looks like it's happy to see its owner. So just little things that you can actually infer from a picture, or as we get through to the next thing, we'll look at a paragraph. Right, so what is inference? So there's different definitions, so let's look at a few of them. It's drawing a conclusion based on available evidence, so things that you can see, plus previous knowledge and experience. It's making an educated guess. It's using clues from the text, coupled with your own experiences, to draw a logical conclusion, and it's also reading between the lines. And like I said, you can do that with pictures like this. Just at a glance, obviously somebody's going to watch Netflix. The second picture, boys enjoying the music, listening to music, and perhaps somebody dropped a pile of books and that's how they've landed, especially with the one open on the top. Not anything hectic, but let's take a look at these two pictures. So what I want you to do is look at these two pictures. What can you guess from these pictures, an educated guess about what is happening in these pictures? So again, pause the video and then we'll go through it together. Right, in the first one on the left, we can obviously deduct or guess that they are obviously late. It looks like they're running towards the bus or trying to catch up with the bus. In the second picture, a little bit more devastating. We can see that there's obviously been some kind of disaster, perhaps some wild weather that we looked at yesterday. What was that called? A tornado, but the one to do on water was a water spout. Perhaps it was one of those. People are coming perhaps to that man's rescue, or it could be the grandfather, the father, and the son. But there's definitely something that's happened, a real devastation in terms of weather-wise. There's lots of home, things being swept away in the water. It could also be a flood. It looks like the sea in the background, I'm not sure, but you could deduct a few things from this picture. Right, so just remember that your answers must be supported by clues. So if you say, I think this is happening because this is what I found in the text, or this is what I can see in the picture. The clues must be added to what you already know about something, and you need to know that there can be more than one answer. So sometimes the way you infer is different to somebody else, and there are times when I am marking something from one of the kids in my class and I go, I didn't see that. I didn't infer that myself. But when I look at it, I look at the evidence that I can see from the passage or the picture, I can agree with the child and go, yes, that's a good deduction. So I want you to take a look at this little paragraph. It's really a basic one for grade 7s, but I'm just trying to get you to understand how to use inferencing skills. Jack was ecstatic. Excitedly, he put on his enormous blue shoes and bright yellow outfit. He painted his face white and drew red circles on his cheeks. Before running out the door to join his friends, Jack attached his red squeaky nose and placed a small Charlie Chaplin green hat on his head. He grabbed an empty backpack and ran into the night. He could hear his mother's laugh as he left. What can we infer about this passage? So also again, pause the video, think a little bit, and I'll go through it with you as well. Right, so here we go. So there's a couple of things that I've underlined. You need to have textual evidence to support your inference strategy that you use. So for example, I said he put on his enormous blue shoes and bright yellow outfit. He painted his face white. I underlined join his friends, red squeaky nose, empty backpack. So there's a couple of things that we can deduct from this paragraph. So I could use all those images or descriptions about what he's wearing, the enormous blue shoes, his face is white, the red circles on his cheeks, and the squeaky nose. And that I can infer that he's probably dressed up as a clown. Exactly. So it didn't tell me that he just got dressed up as a clown. It gives me details along the way that I can read between the lines to know that it's a clown. And then he grabbed an empty backpack and ran into the night. So, sorry, I'm trying to find my cursor. There we go. What happens when you sort of take an empty bag of some sort and you go into the night to join some friends? Yes, normally they're trick-or-treating the Halloween. You take an empty bag and you go and do your trick-or-treats. So perhaps I could infer by saying that's perhaps what is happening on that night. So he's dressing up because that's part of Halloween. He's got an empty backpack and he's going into the night and his mom's laughing at him, obviously in a fun way, to know that hopefully he's going to enjoy himself. So just a few things that you can deduct or infer from a paragraph like this. Obviously, you're going to get passages and pictures that are a lot deeper in meaning than this, and hopefully when we've got time, I will get to one or two of those. And then we come to our last comprehension skill, that's synthesizing. And remember when we did our prefixes, I said if you begin to start building up your prefix knowledge of what things mean, you'll be able to understand a larger amount of vocabulary. So let's look at syn. It means, S-Y-N, means together, and emphasizing means to place or to put. So we want to place or put things together, just like the picture. So just remember, it's a journey. It's not, I've read everything and now I'm just going to slam it all together. It starts like this. So you can use the add method. So what do you already know? Okay, so you got to think about what you already know about the topic. So what you would do, you'd be reading through the comprehension text, look at it, what do you already know about that topic? D, during reading, what have you added to your existing knowledge? So think about the new facts in the text. And then the last one, you talk with your partner or with a friend about what you learned and what they know about the topic. So that's obviously when we do collaboration in pairs or in class, it really is a valuable skill to be able to collaborate. And I think that's what we're missing the most from this lockdown period. But that's what you can do. So read something, think about what you already know about it, add the new information that you've got, and then discuss it with somebody, whether it's mom or dad or a sibling. So let's take a look at how it actually works. So synthesis is like the ripples made by throwing a stone into a pond. Have you ever done that? Try to skim a stone across water. So first there's a small circle and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like the picture on the right. So at first, the first circle that we make is our initial thinking, what we initially thought. So you would start with, at first I thought X, Y, and Z. Then as you read, your thinking starts expanding, and there can be a few layers to that. And that's where you go, first I was thinking, now I'm beginning to think, or now I'm starting to think. So you're adding to your knowledge. And then your final thoughts are the big ideas that we reach at the end of your reading. So once you've started reading it, read a bit more, by the time you've gotten to the end, and that's why it's a journey, your thinking has grown or expanded. So let's take a look, and I just chose a very simple story as well, the Lorax, which I know some of you have seen the movie as well. So when we start and we just read the Lorax or we watch the movie, it's a narrative story. So that's just the first little circle. It's just a story, okay? Then our next one is we're learning about being kind to the environment. Then the next one that we see would be we mustn't pollute the air, animals and humans will suffer. And maybe as our thinking grows, we eventually realize we must protect our natural habitats, because if we don't, this is it's got a couple of things that will happen, like the ripples, if we don't take care of our environment. So very, very simple explanation. And then I don't know if any of you have read Just a Dream, a lovely book. It's about a boy's dream that could come true, and it's about rubbish being everywhere. So that's your initial circle. That's where you start. You get the scene is set for you, who the character is, what's happening. The next one is that we learn about that character, that the boy was selfish and he didn't care about his environment. Can you see when we spoke about yesterday with fiction and non-fiction writing, and where you're writing with your imagination and characters, it starts and it builds up and then it gets to this climax. So the climax of the story obviously gets to the ripples that are further apart, and that's like beautiful places like the Grand Canyon that will eventually disappear because of pollution. And then we got to get a solution to the problem, or a solution to the end of the story is I need to play my part. I need to recycle, pick up litter, etc. And that's something you could even start now in your homes during lockdown. Have you got those different areas for plastic and paper and obviously things that can dispose easily? So yes, just a little really simple explanation of how to synthesize and bring it all together. And so as you can see, we've looked at a couple of strategies, and in the next couple of weeks, some of your activities that you will do will be to use those strategies in practice And so create a visual. There's the camera to just remind you what that's about. Remember using your senses, making a connection to yourself and to things that you've read and the world. Questioning. There's just the question mark. Remember the 5 W's and the how. Who, what, where, why, when, and how. Understanding importance. Remember there are things that are lovely to add, but what is essential information. So the difference between interesting and essential. And then inferencing, there's the read between the lines. And then synthesizing, it's like how your thinking, how your thinking grows and changes as you read. I don't know if some of you know about that little diagram over there, where you actually have got one big lady, and as you open it, she then breaks up into little mini versions. And so how your thinking changes over time. And that's a journey. Don't think that you read, and now you've got the ending. Your reading and your comprehension and what you understand about a text has to change from your initial thoughts, what did you think in the beginning, to now I feel, or now I can see. And so that brings us to the end of our lesson today. Just a wrap up of comprehension skills. We'll be looking at activities to give you over here as you close the video today that will work on those different skills. And so remember, if you have any questions about the lesson today, you can email me at grade7@worksheetcloud.com, and I really will be happy to answer your questions. So thanks again for watching grade 7s. You know the drill. I will be here, same time, same place. Bye.